As dusk settled upon Rosewood High, an ordinary Tuesday turned into a nightmarish descent. My name is Ryan, a senior at the school, and little did I know that the corridors I had walked 1,000 times would transform into a breeding ground for terror. It all began innocently enough as the last bell rang, signifying the end of another mundane day. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, darkness draped the halls, casting sinister shadows that danced with malicious intent. I lingered behind, finishing some assignments in an empty classroom, unaware of the impending horror that awaited me. As I made my way through the dimly lit hallway towards the exit, a chilling gust of wind whispered through the air, raising the hairs on the back of my neck. A flickering fluorescent light above me added an eerie ambiance to the scene, amplifying the growing unease within me. As I rounded the corner, I encountered a figure standing at the end of the hallway. An ominous silhouette etched against the dim light. It sent a surge of apprehension coursing through my veins. The figure was clad in tattered clothing, a disturbing contrast to the pristine school uniform we all wore. I hesitated, my heart pounding, but curiosity compelled me to inch closer. As I drew near, I caught a glimpse of the person's face, a twisted visage contorted with an unsettling grin. It was Tyler, a fellow student known for his eccentric behavior, but something about him was different that night. His eyes, once filled with a spark of mischief, now seemed empty, devoid of any trace of humanity. I felt an icy chill in his presence, an unmistakable aura of malevolence. "Hey, Tyler," I called out, my voice wavering. "What are you doing here? Is everything okay?" He didn't respond. Instead, his twisted grin widened, revealing a set of yellowed teeth. The air around us grew heavy with an oppressive silence, broken only by the distant hum of flickering lights. A sense of foreboding washed over me, urging me to flee, but I couldn't tear my gaze away from the disturbing spectacle before me. Suddenly, without warning, Tyler lunged towards me with lightning speed. Instinct kicked in, and I barely managed to sidestep his attack. As he stumbled past me, I caught a glimpse of a glinting blade clutched tightly in his hand. Fear gripped me like a vice, and my racing heart threatened to burst from my chest. I realized then that this night would be etched in my memory as a horrific encounter with a psychopathic student. I turned and sprinted down the hallway, my footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. Panic urged me to seek refuge, to escape the clutches of this deranged individual. But with every turn I took, the school seemed to twist and morph, confusing my sense of direction. The once familiar hallways became a labyrinth, trapping me in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. Breathing heavily, I found myself at a dead end, cornered by the malevolent force that pursued me. Tyler emerged from the shadows, his eyes glinting with a sickening hunger. I had become the prey in his twisted game, and as his wicked smile widened, I knew that this night would be etched in darkness forever. As I rounded the corner, I encountered a figure standing at the end of the hallway. An ominous silhouette etched against the dim light. It sent a surge of apprehension coursing through my veins. The figure was clad in tattered clothing, a disturbing contrast to the pristine school uniform we all wore. I hesitated, my heart pounding, but curiosity compelled me to inch closer. As I drew near, I caught a glimpse of the person's face, a twisted visage contorted with an unsettling grin. It was Tyler, a fellow student known for his eccentric behavior, but something about him was different that night. His eyes, once filled with a spark of mischief, now seemed empty, devoid of any trace of humanity. I felt an icy chill in his presence, an unmistakable aura of malevolence. "Hey, Tyler," I called out, my voice wavering. "What are you doing here? Is everything okay?" He didn't respond. Instead, his twisted grin widened, revealing a set of yellowed teeth. The air around us grew heavy with an oppressive silence, broken only by the distant hum of flickering lights. A sense of foreboding washed over me, urging me to flee, but I couldn't tear my gaze away from the disturbing spectacle before me. Suddenly, without warning, Tyler lunged towards me with lightning speed. Instinct kicked in, and I barely managed to sidestep his attack. As he stumbled past me, I caught a glimpse of a glinting blade clutched tightly in his hand. Fear gripped me like a vice, and my racing heart threatened to burst from my chest. I realized then that this night would be etched in my memory as a horrific encounter with a psychopathic student. I turned and sprinted down the hallway, my footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. Panic urged me to seek refuge, to escape the clutches of this deranged individual. But with every turn I took, the school seemed to twist and morph, confusing my sense of direction. The once familiar hallways became a labyrinth, trapping me in a nightmare from which there seemed to be no escape. Breathing heavily, I found myself at a dead end, cornered by the malevolent force that pursued me. Tyler emerged from the shadow, and hands grasped at the walls, searching for a hidden passage, a way out of this nightmare. Tyler slowly closed the distance between us, his steps deliberate and calculated. His twisted grin never wavered, revealing the depths of his depravity. I could see it in his eyes, a deranged glimmer that reveled in the torment he was about to inflict. "Ryan," he hissed, his voice laced with malice. "You've always been blind to the darkness that exists within us all. Tonight, I will show you the truth." My heart pounded in my chest as I contemplated my options, fight or flight. But as my eyes darted across the claustrophobic space, I realized there was no way to escape. No doors, no windows. It was just him and me, locked in a deadly dance of predator and prey. Summoning my courage, I edged towards a nearby classroom door, hoping to find something, anything, that could aid my survival. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room, cluttered with desks and shadows that seemed to writhe in anticipation. It was a desperate gamble, a fleeting glimmer of hope in a sea of darkness. With a surge of adrenaline, I entered the room, silently closing the door behind me. The smell of old books and dust filled the air, mingling with the acrid scent of fear that clung to my skin. My eyes frantically scanned the room, searching for a weapon, an exit, anything that could tip the scales in my favor. That's when I saw it, a broken chair leg lying in a corner, discarded and forgotten. I lunged towards it, gripping the makeshift weapon tightly, my knuckles turning white. With each passing second, the weight of my situation sank in. It was kill or be killed, a fight for survival against a predator who had embraced his darkest impulses. The door handle rattled, and I knew that Tyler was just on the other side, ready to unleash his sadistic desires. I braced myself, the chair leg serving as a feeble shield against the storm that was about to break loose. As the door swung open, Tyler's eyes met mine, an unhinged hunger burning within them. Without hesitation, he lunged towards me, his movements fueled by a twisted determination. I swung the chair leg with all my might, desperation lending me strength. A sickening crack filled the room as the makeshift weapon connected with Tyler's skull. His body crumpled to the ground, a grotesque heap of shattered dreams and malevolence. My breath came in ragged gasps, my entire being trembling with a mixture of fear and relief. But even as Tyler lay motionless on the floor, an unnerving realization settled in. I had merely wounded the beast, not killed it. The darkness that had consumed him still lingered, waiting for another opportunity to manifest in the hearts of others. As I stood there, covered in the residue of violence, I knew that this night would never truly end. The shadows of Rosewood High whispered tales of unspeakable horrors, their echoes etching themselves into the very fabric of my existence. I had survived this encounter, but the scars, both seen and unseen, would forever remind me of the darkness that lurked within our seemingly ordinary world. I was an ordinary high school student, navigating through the turbulent waves of teenage life, until that fateful night when everything changed. It began innocently enough, as my classmates and I prepared for a school event, completely unaware of the darkness that awaited us. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting eerie shadows over the deserted hallways, a sense of unease settled upon the school. We were gathered in the gymnasium, where the faculty members wore unsettling smiles, their eyes glinting with an inexplicable malevolence. Little did we know that we were about to become unwitting participants in a twisted psychological experiment, orchestrated by the very people who were supposed to nurture our young minds. The event commenced, and we were divided into groups, each tasked with solving a series of riddles scattered throughout the school premises. My group found ourselves venturing into the dimly lit corridors, our footsteps echoing ominously with every step. Anxiety gnawed at my insides, but I pushed the feeling aside, assuming it was just a typical high school scare tactic. Yet, the riddles grew increasingly macabre as we progressed. They became more personal, dredging up our deepest fears and insecurities. The once cohesive group slowly fractured, paranoia seeping into our veins. Trust evaporated, replaced by suspicion and desperation. We stumbled upon clues that hinted at a more sinister purpose behind the experiment. Whispers circulated, tales of previous students who had vanished under similar circumstances. Fear consumed us, amplified by the realization that our fate rested in the hands of a faculty gone mad. The school transformed into a labyrinth of darkness, each corridor a new nightmare waiting to unfold. Shadows danced on the walls, distorting reality, while disembodied laughter echoed through the empty halls. It felt as if the building itself was alive, a malevolent entity toying with our sanity. As the night wore on, exhaustion claimed our bodies, but sleep became impossible. Paranoia eroded our minds, breeding a toxic atmosphere of suspicion and despair. Friendships crumbled, replaced by accusations and betrayal. We became monsters of our own creation, driven to unimaginable lengths in a desperate attempt to survive. With each passing hour, the riddles became more sadistic, forcing us to confront our darkest secrets. We were stripped of our defenses, laid bare before our tormentors. The faculty watched, hidden in the shadows, relishing our mental unraveling. By the time dawn painted the sky with pale hues, I had lost all semblance of my former self. The once hopeful student was now a shell, consumed by madness and despair. My mind fractured into jagged pieces, my grip on reality slipping away. The experiment had succeeded in breaking me, shattering my spirit irreparably. In the aftermath, as the authorities uncovered the truth, the faculty fled, leaving behind a trail of shattered lives and traumatized souls. The school became a haunted place, forever tainted by the malevolence that lurked within its walls. Students avoided it like a plague, fearing the remnants of the twisted experiment that had claimed our innocence. To this day, the memories of that horrid night haunt me. The corridors of my mind echo with the chilling laughter of my classmates turned monsters. I am forever trapped within the depths of my own descent into madness, a victim of a psychological experiment that forever altered the course of my life. In the aftermath of that nightmarish ordeal, my shattered psyche struggled to find stability. The whispers of the past continued to haunt my every waking moment, relentlessly reminding me of the depths of darkness humanity is capable of. The lines between reality and illusion blurred as paranoia gripped me tightly in its icy grasp. Attempting to resume a semblance of a normal life, I returned to school, though the hallways seemed to mock me with their empty silence. Faces once familiar now bore the marks of trauma, their eyes reflecting a shared torment. We had survived, but at what cost? The innocence we once held dear had been irrevocably stolen. I sought solace in therapy, desperately clinging to the hope of healing my fractured mind. But the nightmares persisted, refusing to release their grip on my fragile sanity. The psychologist's reassuring words became mere echoes in the abyss of my tortured thoughts. Yet, even in the midst of my descent into darkness, a spark of curiosity flickered within me. What had driven the faculty to orchestrate such a sadistic experiment? Why had they chosen us, the unsuspecting students, as their unwitting subjects? These questions gnawed at my consciousness, demanding answers. I embarked on a clandestine investigation, determined to uncover the truth behind the faculty's twisted motives. Piece by piece, I unearthed a web of deceit, power-hungry minds that sought to experiment on the vulnerable, to wield control over impressionable young minds. In the shadows, I discovered whispers of a secret organization, pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Their influence stretched far beyond our small town, their reach extending into the highest echelons of power. The experiment at our high school was just a small piece of their grand design, a testing ground for their wicked machinations. As I delved deeper, the world around me morphed into a sinister landscape of hidden agendas and malevolent forces. My once trusted friends revealed their true colors, some serving as pawns in this twisted game, while others harbored their own secrets. Trust became an elusive concept, paranoia the only constant. The organization's enigmatic leader, a figure shrouded in darkness, seemed to taunt me from afar. Clues and cryptic messages led me deeper into the heart of their operations, a rabbit hole from which there was no return. The boundary between hunter and hunted blurred, as I became a pawn in their sadistic chess game. My mind, already teetering on the edge, struggled to grasp the enormity of the truth I had uncovered. The faculty's experiment had been a mere glimpse into a vast labyrinth of psychological torment. The lives lost and damaged were just collateral in their pursuit of power and control. As the walls closed in around me, engulfed by the tendrils of the organization's influence, I faced a choice. Surrender to the madness that threatened to consume me or rise up against the shadows, fighting to expose the malevolence that plagued our society. Haunted by my own demons, Fueled by the memories of that accursed night, I made my decision. With each step towards truth, I would become a beacon of resistance, a voice that refused to be silenced. But as I prepared to face the darkness head-on, I couldn't help but wonder if I was already too far gone. The organization's reach extended far beyond what I had initially imagined. Their tendrils intertwined with the fabric of society, infiltrating every level of power and influence. I sought allies among the few I still dared to trust, individuals who had glimpsed the horrors of that night and carried their own scars. Together, we formed a clandestine resistance, determined to expose the truth and dismantle the organization's sinister machinations. As we dug deeper, the threats escalated. Mysterious figures lurked in the shadows, watching our every move. Our lives became a delicate dance of evasion, constantly on the run from unseen forces. Sleep became a luxury, for fear that they would strike when our defenses were down. The clues we uncovered led us to a dilapidated facility on the outskirts of town, the epicenter of the organization's operations. It was a desolate place, filled with forgotten secrets and the echoes of tortured souls. Here we would confront the true face of evil. With trepidation clawing at our hearts, we ventured into the belly of the beast. Each step echoed through the abandoned hallways, a constant reminder of the horrors we had endured. The stench of decay lingered in the air, mingling with our frayed nerves. As we pressed on, the labyrinthine corridors seemed to twist and shift, disorienting us at every turn. Whispers echoed from hidden corners. Malicious laughter reverberated through the darkness. The facility was alive with malevolence,